Hi, this is your sister Desiree. This is your sister Desiree Monique, and welcome to my channel, How They Made It. Today is How They Made It Tuesday. Remember, I said last week I'm going to be reading this book from the Trashman to the Cashman. And last week I read chapter 1. Today I will be reading chapter 2. Chapter 2: The difference between the rich and the poor. Rich people understand how many Rich people understand how money works. Poor people only understand how to work for money. Let me say that again. Rich people understand how money works, but poor people only understand how to work for money. You may be wondering, Myron, what do you mean understand how money works? Let me explain. The importance of financial principles. Any financial principle that you do not understand and any financial principle you are not using is being used against you by someone who does understand that principle. That's why it's a that's why it's so important for you to understand financial principles. Most people don't understand any financial principles. They don't understand leverage. They don't understand residual income. They don't understand passive income. They don't understand the time value of money. They don't understand the power of compound interest. That their lack of knowledge about how most financial principles work is the reason they are broke. Let's look at some financial principles and how they work. Remember, they work for you if you understand them and use them, and against you if you don't. The magic of compound interest. Rich people understand the time value of money. They understand the value of compound interest. Einstein, who is considered to be one of the brightest people of the last century, said, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. Makes you want to go to the bank and ask for one of those accounts. I want you to think about the statement: if compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe, you need to understand it. If you don't understand it, someone who does will use the most powerful financial force in the universe against you. You can see how this could easily have a catastrophe effect on your financial situation. Einstein, the same guy who discovered that E equals mc squared and unlocked the secrets to the atomic bomb, said that compound interest is more powerful than the force that results in an atomic explosion. If that is true, no wonder so many people end up broke. Institutions that understand compound interest are using that force against you financially. Them credit card bills, yeah. Let me show you how you put your money in a bank account that will give you less than 3%, sometimes even less than 1% interest on your money. Then you get a credit card through the same bank and you borrow your own money from the bank at 18 to 24% interest. No wonder most people are broke. They loan their money to the bank at 0 to 3% interest and borrow it back at 18 to 24% interest. To see the effect this could have on you financially over a working lifetime, let's use the rule of 72. The rule of 72 is the formula that measures compound interest, also known as the time of money. Here's how it works. Take your rate of in, take your rate of return and divide it by the number 72. The answer tells you how long it will take your money to double at that rate of return. For example, 72 divided by 3 equals 24. That tells you that if you are getting a 3% return on your money will double every 24 years. If you reverse that equation and you're getting 24% of your money, then your money will double every 3 years. That is why your bank is getting richer at your expense. They know the formula and you don't. Now you can clearly see why most people never get rich. You must commit to getting your money working for you at the highest rates of return possible. By the way, rate of return simply means interest. That's why poor people are poor and rich people are rich. Rich people know this system doesn't work to poor people's advantage. Now let's continue looking at the differences between the practices of the rich and the practices of the poor. Don't work for money. Have money work for you. Poor people only understand how to work for money. What do you mean? Many poor people are hardworking individuals who have a job that they can either classify as a good job or a bad job. Let me tell you, a job is a job. Some jobs pay more money than others, but it doesn't change the fact that you are trading time for money. The reason people work for money is that they believe that time is money. Rich people know that time is not money. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. Time, time prove it. Think about this. If you run out of money, you can always get more money. But if you run out of time, it's over. You can't get more time. Learn how to stop trading your time for money. Your employer already knows that time is more valuable than money. Even if you haven't figured it out yet, that's why you are willing to give your employer a whole lot of your time for a little bit of your employer's money. On the other hand, because your employer understands that time is more valuable than money, the company is willing to give you a little bit of their money for a whole lot of your time. When you figure out this reality, then you will stop trading your time, which is infinitely valuable, for money, which only has a limited value. When you trade time for money, it is like renting out your life for less than it is worth. When you rent out your life over a long period of time, you sell out your family. I don't want you to go out and quit your job tomorrow. I do want you to begin to set up your life so that eventually you can put a system in place to make enough passive income to buy your time. Now let's look at some more differences between the rich and the poor. Don't entertain yourself, educate yourself. Another difference between the wealthy and the poor is that poor people entertain themselves, but rich people educate themselves. Poor people collect DVDs and movies and video games. Rich people collect books, seminar experiences, and audio programs that teach them how to do something they want to learn how to do. Let me repeat. Poor people entertain themselves, rich people educate themselves. Poor people stop learning as soon as they get out of school. Rich people continue their education long after they graduate. In fact, most rich people will tell you that the most valuable things they have learned, they don't learn from school anyway. They learned them from mentors, they learned them from seminars, they learned them from books, they learned them from audio programs, they learned the things they want to learn from people who know what they want to learn. Poor people entertain themselves, rich people educate themselves. Stop entertaining yourself and start educating yourself. Throw away your television. Throw away your television. I believe that people who are financially challenged should not watch television until they are financially free. To me, financially challenged means that you are making less than $20,000 a month. If you are making less than $20,000 a month and you don't feel financially challenged, you eventually will feel challenged because as your children get older and your parents get older, you will begin to experience additional responsibilities that get more expensive on both ends. You'll be taking care of your children who are getting older, going to college and getting married. At the same time, you will have increased responsibilities with parents who are getting older. Both have increased needs. If you are making less than $20,000 a month at that point, you're going to find yourself in a financial crunch or feeling guilty about what you wish you could do but can't. I realize that $20,000 a month may be hard for you to cap for you to conceptualize, but 20,000 a month will eventually seem like a little bit of money to you if you will trust the principles of this book and apply them to your life. So if you can see it, you can believe it, then you can achieve it. I used to say it, because see, believe, achieve. You will eventually see that making $20,000 a month is not only possible, but is very, very probable if you follow all of the principles in this book. Now that you are con- contemplating 20,000 per month, let me tell you why I say getting rid of your television is so important. There are actually many reasons. So let's examine some of them. The television is a cultural hypnotic device. It is used to influence and control society. The programming, the news, media, and the commercials have a profound effect on the financial situation of most people. The television creates the television creates a victim mentality as people watch the rapes, robberies, and murders on the evening news or on violent TV dramas. People become more and more fearful. TV, the commercials create a consumer mentality that encourages people to buy things they don't need and can't afford. TV keeps people trapped into thinking they're powerless and that changing their financial situation is impossible. The exact opposite is true. You are the one who has the best chance of changing your financial life, not the government and not social programs. Another problem with television is that it promotes the philosophy that the main purpose of money is consumption or buying things. But the truth is that the more important function of money is for creating wealth. The final argument that I will give in favor of poor people getting rid of their television is this: the time it takes to watch it. The average American spends 4 to 7 hours per day watching television. That valuable time could be used to learn something or do something that can create wealth. When I was broke, I got rid of my television and it was one of the best things I ever did. I can honestly tell you that getting rid of my television was one of the most important things I have ever done that has contributed to my wealth. So get rid of your television until you get over the financial hump. Benjamin Franklin said, if you empty your purse into your mind will fill your purse with gold. I'm going to give you the Myron Golden version of that. And that is whoever puts the most money in your mind, that's who has most of your money. Let me explain. Advertisers spend millions of dollars to put messages in your mind. You cannot compete at the level, so they automatically have a advantage over you. If the advertisers put more money into your mind than you do, then the advertisers will have more of your money than you will, because all of the money they invest in your mind causes you to think about what they want you to think about. Why you should buy more of their products. Since you can't compete at that level, you've got to cut off the advertisers. Turn off the television, turn off the radio, put down the newspaper, stop reading that magazine, and start focusing solely, like a fanatic, on how you are going to become financially independent. Becoming rich can't be something that you do haphazardly. It has to be something that you are intent on making work. In order for that to happen, you've got to cut off all of those influences that are pouring more money into your mind than you are. You are being, you may be thinking, if I do this, how will I know what is going on in the world? That is exactly what they want you to think. I'm not even joking. I understand. My question is, if you can't do anything about what is going on in your own world, how are you going to do something about what is going on in the world? That is a good point. With all of this in mind, do you think that you can still afford to watch television before you become wealthy? Most rich people don't have jobs. Another difference between poor people and rich people is that poor people have jobs, whereas rich people are business own businesses. More than 80% of rich people be- became rich by owning their own business. Poor people seek to get a job. Rich people look to give somebody else a job. Think about it. Rich people value their time so much that they hire people to do the things they don't want to do. Poor people will gladly get paid to do what those of us who are rich really don't want to do. Understand that word job is the most perfectly spelled word in the dictionary. JOB. It is an acronym that stands for jump out of bed. Get on the journey of the boat so you can remain just over broke. That's what job means, just over broke. I want you to get to the place in your life where the word job makes you cringe. I hope that by now you don't like the idea of selling your time to somebody else because then you are selling your most valuable asset for pennies on the dollar. Poor people, poor people seek to get a job whereas rich people own businesses. If you want to be wealthy and own your own business or businesses, then you are starting to get the idea of this book. Later in this book, I'm going to share with you my business plan, which has absolutely changed my life. It's so simple. Even a fifth grader could understand it. I was one of the fifth grader. I think I understood stuff in the fifth grade. I'm just saying. Rich people don't set limits for themselves. Poor people think either or. Rich people think both and what that means is that poor people look at every choice as a process of elimination. For instance, a person might think, I would like to do what I love, but I have to pay my bills. That statement implies that you can't have both. We buy into truisms that aren't true, like the saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Why not? I had cake just a couple of days ago. I had it and I ate it. Ironically, the latter statement is very poor people get poor and rich people get richer. Rich people don't try to eat their cake and have it too. Let me illustrate. Rich people are conservative spenders, but many poor people will spend everything they get as soon as they get it. Then they wonder why they never accumulate wealth. You see, you can't spend your money and have it too. Too many poor people will spend more money than they should to buy things they really can't afford to impress people that don't know. The next time you are tempted to do this, stop and say to yourself, I can spend this now and have nothing later, or I can invest this now and have a fortune later. You can't eat your cake and have it too. And you can't spend your money and have it too. If you want to be rich, you must resist the temptation to spend present cash that you could be using and should be using to create future wealth. Once you have created your wealth, then you can become a both and person. Because you th- because you will then have the ability to travel wherever you choose, and you will enjoy a nice lifestyle without having to worry about money. Poor people think either or, but rich people think both and. Poor people think, well, I've got to do either this or this. Rich people think, how can I do both? Start changing the way you think. Poor people focus on the obstacle. Rich people focus on the opportunity. It's all a question of focus. In every situation, there are both obstacles and opportunities. Which one do you usually see? Start thinking like a rich person and you will eventually be rich. As a man thinketh, so is he. Choose your advisors wisely. The difference that I am about to show you is one of the most ironic of all the differences between the rich and the poor. Rich people only take financial advice from people who are as rich as they are or richer. Poor people only take financial advice from people who are as poor as they are or poorer. This is one of the most amazing things that I have seen since I began studying this this subject. It is really sad because most people will go to the grave and never even realize that if what they are currently doing is not giving them the result they desire, then they should start looking to some different sources for advice. One of the best definitions of insanity I have ever heard is continue to do the same things and expecting a different result. If you continue to do what you have always done, then you will continue to get what you always have gotten. Now I have given you the start to a, a pretty good list of differences between the rich and the poor. It is not an exhaustive list, but it is a good start. While you are on your personal wealth journey, continue to grow your list of differences between the rich and the poor. And I will look forward to hearing your story one day on how you made it into the top 5%. That's chapter 2 of the book, From the Trashman to the Cashman: How Anyone Can Get Rich Starting from Anywhere by Myron Golden. Okay, I guess I will see you next Tuesday. Remember to like, share, and comment. This is your sister Desiree Monique, and this is how they made it. Peace.